So welcome back to my channel. This is Gamer Dom, and continuing this series of looking at the different tank classes in the World of Tanks world and universe. So we've looked at light tanks, the two sort of main varieties of light tanks, the sneaky passive scouts and then the more active scouts. We've also looked at the fat boys, the heavy tanks, the ones with lots of armour, slow-moving behemoths generally that exist really to brawl and to mash it out with their opposite numbers. And then, so this time we're going to look at the other types of heavy tanks. I'm going to call them support heavies. They are tanks that really have no business being out there brawling with the big fat boys, but are more there to be just immediately behind the heavy tanks, to sort of sneak out and cause as much mayhem as they possibly can. They have a little bit of armour, but not much. So what sort of tanks? Well, things like this thing. This is the AMX 50-100. In fact, pretty much all the French heavy tank line, the old heavy line, I'm going to clarify that because there's obviously a new line now, but the AMX 50B, the AMX 50-120, the AMX 50-100, even you could argue the AMX M4-45 are all very much sort of lightweight heavies. They are support tanks. They're not going to go up and be brawling. And you can tell that very, very easily. Simple fact, just look at the armor profile. 180 and 60 on the hull, 180 and 60 on the turret for this thing. Now okay, there's a bit of sloping there, but even so, this is a tier 9 tank. It's going to be going up against guns that have 250 penetration, and it's got 100mm of frontal plate armor. So it's really not going to do much good if it gets into a brawl fest. Similarly, things like the Emil, the Swedish heavy tank line, these things are support tanks. They're autoloaders. They're there to spit out damage and destruction at close range. Now the Emil does have a turret. Well, this one has 180 degrees, and because it's angled so beautifully, if you can keep that frontal armor facing forward and you keep the hull hidden, it will bounce shells even from some of the biggest guns in the game. But generally this is a support tank. Again, it's only got 100mm of hull armor. Again, same as the AMX. You've got other things here like the premium FCM50T. This thing, again, 120mm of frontal plate armor, and look at it, it's virtually flat. You know, this is a tier 8 premium tank. It will go up against tier 9s and other tier 8s that, you know, 120, their HE rounds virtually go through 120. So these things you cannot play in the same way as a 112, which is all armor. 120mm of frontal armor, but look at the angling of that thing. This thing will bounce shots all day. It's got 120 of side armor as well. 240 turret. Unbelievable. So I would say that pretty much the nations that provide most heavy support tanks in this game are the French and the Swedish tanks. Both of them, their heavy branches are not really heavies. They're more like sort of heavy mediums, I guess. It's some sort of fashion like that. Similarly, I would argue the British are a bit of a transition. They're sort of partly heavy and they're partly sort of light heavy, support heavy. And so you have to play these things in a fundamentally different way to how you would play one of the big boys. Because if you try and brawl with these things, you will die. And it's what I've been saying all the way through this series. Hopefully you've been getting this if you've been watching it, is that it's all about knowing your vehicle. So when you click that battle button, you know what sort of vehicle you are driving. And there is no point trying to play the tank in a different role to what it was intended. Now, one time out of, I don't know, 10, or if you're a super great player, you might get away with playing it in the wrong way. But to get the best results, you need to play these things as they were designed. And support tank means exactly that, support tank. And I did love, I've mentioned this before, I'm old so I repeat myself quite a bit, But originally, well, there was a suggestion from Wargaming that they were going to change the classifications of vehicles so that they were no longer heavy, medium, tank destroyer, etc., etc., but more to reflect their roles. So breakthrough tanks, assault tanks, assault TDs, support TDs, that kind of thing. So you would instantly know what these things were supposed to do. They never went ahead with this, which I think was a big shame, and so you now have to do the work yourself. So it's really, really important that when you are about to click on the button for any tank in your garage, that you really look at it. If you don't know immediately what it's capable of, you do some research and you find out. And there's a number of good places you can go to. One I particularly like to go to have a look at is Tanks GG. There you can look at the armor profile. You can see where the weak spots are in your tank. You can see how it maps up against other tanks. Also, Wargaming provide us with this very handy function here. This allows us to compare different vehicles in the game. So I can look at, so the Emil is a tier 8 heavy tank supposedly. Let's have a look at all the other tier 8s here. Let's have a look at Malbecker, that's always a fun thing. And something complete, I want heavies, don't I? Just heavies. There we go, tier 8 heavies. Oh, and maybe the Defender, how about those two? Two extremes of heavy tanks, but if you look at this, it's very, very obvious that the Emil is not in the same class. Average damage 320, these things are 440. Penetration 217, these things, even the Malbecker, which is renowned for having poor penetration with its standard rounds, 220 as opposed to 217. So these things are really all about supporting. Even the armor profiles, look at this, hull armor 100 for our Emil, 70 for the 130 for the Defender, thought something weird had happened there, and 180 for the Malbecker. Turret 180 on the Emil, admittedly very, very well angled, but only 180, 250 on the Defender, 230 for the Malbecker. So it's important that you do things like this, particularly if you're new to the game or relatively inexperienced in the game, or have come from another gaming background where you're not used to these sort of classifications of vehicles. You need to know what your vehicle is capable of. And some tanks will be very good in certain ways. So let me look at, here you go, T-29. This is an American heavy tank, tier 7, one of the best tier for tier heavy tanks in the game, I would argue. And why is it so good? Well, it's its turret. Its turret is phenomenal. 279 millimeters of frontal armor, and then there's a gun mantle here which makes it even stronger. This thing will bounce tier 9s quite happily, and it will see tier 9, so it's a good thing it can. But its hull is not so good, only 100 millimeters. Now it's reasonably well angled, so against lower tier tanks it can do a job, but against higher tier tanks it cannot. But if you keep that turret hidden, either poking over a hill or behind a wreck or something like that, even the high tier tanks will have a real trouble trying to pen your turret. So it's not just enough to know that, some tanks are very obvious. As I say, things like the AMX series, MX50, 100s and so forth, they are obviously support tanks. These are not brawlers. These are not tanks you're going to go slug it out with the enemy team, because if you do, you'll die. But other tanks are a little bit less certain. So what about the Patriot? T26E5. This is a heavy tank. No doubt about it. 150 millimeters of hull armor, 190 of frontal turret, and a nice gun mantle. Pretty reasonable gun. But if you are bottom tier in this thing, you might want to consider playing it like a medium, a heavy medium, because hey, it's got reasonable speed. 15 power ratio, which is okay, and 40 top speed. And if you go and try and slug it out with the tier 10 heavy tank, you will lose in this thing. You won't penetrate them at all, and they'll penetrate you every single time. So it's not enough just to look at your vehicle in the cold, in your individual, in an isolation. You do need to look at what your matchup's going to be. So when you click that button, and it's hard in some of the tanks. So you get out in an OHO, for instance, tier H, Japanese super obese tank like this, fantastic thing. But if you get a tier 10, you can't really go around being a medium. Because this thing just, A, it's the size of a continent, and B, it's got no speed. Look at that, power ratio of 9.8, top speed of 25. So you're not going to get around anybody in this thing. So you are limited in what you can play with it. But broadly speaking, if you take a look at your vehicle, you look at its stats before you click that battle button, you will do a hell of a lot better than you would otherwise do. And you need to learn the strengths and weaknesses of your tank. So when you select your Emil and you take it out to play, you know, I'm a support tank. That's what my role is. I'm going to stay behind the heavies. I'm not going to push ahead on my own. If I'm bottom tier, I might well go and fight it out with the mediums, because I've got a good chance of penning them, and they might struggle a little bit with my armor. So that's how you have to look at these things. Don't look at it as, oh, it's a heavy, I'm going to go and brawl, because some tanks can. Some tanks can. But if you are in this sort of support tank class, that's a very quick way to get a trip back to the garage. So anyway, let's go and take a couple of games and try and show how it all works. So this is Fix Point, driving the very garish looking FCM 50T. This is the French tier 8 preferential matchmaking heavy tank. I did say medium there because it kind of plays a bit like that. It's heavy that doesn't really know what it's supposed to do. Very fast, goes 50 odd kph, not so great armour because it's pretty flat, and not a bad little punchy gun on it. No longer sadly available, as Wargaming's battle against preferential matchmaking tanks continues, and it was withdrawn from sale fairly recently, but still you'll see a fair few out there. But it's a good example of kind of the support tank role that you need to play in this sort of support tank heavy. So we're on Paris map. He's come down the heavy area. Doesn't really want to be in the front line. Really does not want to be in the front line. So he's set himself up in a nice position here to support his teammates. You can see he's using that little gap there, hoping to get a shot on the unwary ARL 44 that popped down there, attract him in the same shot. Nicely done. Right, they know he's here now. What will they do about it? Missed his chance there on the T-34-100. And you can see when you're playing this sort of support tank, you really don't want to get out and brawl it out. Firing into the roof of the ARL 44. This Panther is, look at him. Oh dear, Panther. A, he's angled the wrong way, so he's actually giving his side armour to the enemy, and they're just duly taking it. And there goes the Panther too. So we lost our tracks there, got penned by T-34-100 because there's no armour really on this, not really anything to worry about. It's a tier 8, it's top tier. Can he get a shot on that guy? Oh, I can, but just seemed to miss and hit the bollard. Now when you're in this sort of vehicle, you've got the mobility, so you can try and duke it out with the mediums, and that's kind of what he's doing here, looking for opportunities to pick on lights and mediums. So one time in a heavy you get the chance to do something like this. Nice, takes down the T-34-85. Here's top tier, so you know, make allowances for that, and you can see up against these lower tier mediums you can block their shots. He's actually side scraping against them and there's nothing they can do about it. He's keeping that Comet tracked there just to see his tracks repaired. He tracked him again. Now he wants to go for a kill shot. Oh, it's being hit the other side now. Wasn't paying attention. Tunnel vision. Even good players do it. So he's in a bit of a quandary here, and he's still trying to play this support role. You notice he's firing from sort of mediums range. He's not getting really close like a brawler would. He's trying to keep some distance so he can try and use what mobility he has, what ability he has to snipe to good effect. He's also playing the role of the sort of flank guard for his team. It's costing him a bit though. Oh, hello. Lurv pops around the corner, gets a shot into him. Now you can see how this tank plays out. It's being hit up the Jaxi again. That Comet is really annoying. Got to get rid of him. Got to get rid of these tanks behind him, else he is in serious trouble. Gets the T-71. Nice. Who was firing? Heat, of course. Comet is trying to make a dash for it. And we block his shot and take him down. Right. The game's turned around. It's 8 plays 5 now. Now he can get around the Jaxi of this Lurv. Mind you, notice the Lurv's coming his way, so he pulls right back. Wild shot from the Lurv. Here you go. Mobility. Keep working it. Keep working, keep working, keep working, keep working to keep that mobility up. Don't get drawn into a standout duking fight. Shoot somebody in the back if you have to. That's what he's done. That E25 was a bit rash. Came charging round. The Lurv turned round and took him out, and I think we'll get him before he fires. Yes, we do. Just. Right, 11 plays 9. 315 health. The heavy line is secured. However, the cap looks a little bit suspect. They've got a Super Pershing, an S1. What else have they got? AT-15A all around. Got spotted. Ah, here we go. There's the AT-15. What's he gonna do here? Oh, it's AFK. Ha! What an anticlimax. 3 kills, 3 damage. Can you get the kill? Yeah, that's the kill. Good, good. That's his 5th kill. 4,385 damage. It's not anything clever, he's just used the mobility of this tank. He's used it in the support role it was designed. It is not designed to get in front of people. You can play this sort of thing as a medium tank. Now, rather cheekily, he's saying kill the cap. Well, he's in one of the fastest tanks here. WZ has shown no inclination of going to do his scouting role. So he's now got to try and... You would think he should go and do something about it. Yes, it really could do... I mean, it's a bit cheeky. It's the sort of thing that Super Unicorns love doing. Directing everyone else what to do. He tells them to go back. And... of course, nobody else does. Or so it's the really slow, heavy things that are going back. The IS and the OI. To be fair, they should get there in time. It's not a massive map, this. So the FCM is moving around the other way, trying to get from a different angle. Again, playing a bit more like a medium. Trying to get into a situation where you can get on favourable terms against the enemy tanks. You do not want to be going face to face. You do not have the armour. His teammates take down the Kappa, and he's asking the WZ to spot the Sturmwagen. But unfortunately, oh, there's artillery. Hello, artillery. Ha! Tracks him. And then gets the kill. So yeah, a bit dirty play if you ask me. Get somebody else to go back, then pick up the kill. Hey ho, it's I guess it's a Top Gun for him. He's probably deserves that. He's played it pretty well. Okay, so the Sturmwagen took down the OI. Sturmwagen has moved. Okay, that's good to know. Now he can use his mobility, get around the back. Oh, he's on full health, that S1. We're on our 7th kill. IS has been taken down. It's 2v1 now. Which way is he looking? The opposite direction. Oh, this is bliss. Now we've got him. Track him in place. Just constantly track him there. He's trying to come out of siege mode, you can see. But never had a chance. Never had a chance. 5,000 damage. GG. Well played. So he came out of that with an ace tanker. He got Bruiser, Duelist, Fire for Effect, Steel Wall, High Caliber and Top Gun. Finished up top of the team. 5,305 damage, 7 kills, 1929 base XP, fired 31 shots, hit with 28, penned with 24, took 17 hits himself, 7 of which penetrated, 10 bounced, amazingly. They were quite low caliber because it was only 1,200 damage. Look at this, 156,000 credits, didn't fire any premiums, 137 profit. And with his ×3 and bonus for driving and premium, nearly 9,000 experience for his crew. And it was all done by medium distance shooting, keeping out of the way, not going toe to toe with any heavies or anybody else for that matter. The only time he went, if you notice, the only time he slugged it out was with those tier 7 mediums, the Comet and the was it A43, 44, forget now which one it was, 43. That was the only time he took them on frontally. He got into a side scraping position, and he knew that his armour was good enough to deal with those kind of tanks. Against the heavy stuff, he never stood still. Even when that Lurv came chasing him down, he kept pulling back, kept using his mobility, keeping the distance. And that's really what you need to do in these sort of support vehicles, keep the distance. Even though they're designated heavies, they're not. They are more like medium tanks, and you have to really avoid that direct confrontation. Keep the engagement at a medium distance. Keep mobility, keep changing directions, keep playing dirty. Bit like light tanks have to do. Get around the flanks and rears. Don't try and take things on frontally unless the enemy tank is completely engaged with somebody else and you think you can get away with it. Even then, you're better off getting around a flank or a rear if it's at all possible. So this time, this is Random Clicker driving, great name by the way, Random Clicker, driving the Swedish tier 8 heavy tank, the auto-loading Emil I. He's got crummy matching. He's bottom tier in a tier 10 game on Karelia. Standard game, so that's something at least. At least you have to worry about the vagaries of assault games, which I always seem to get on this map. So again, you're going to see a support tank played in a supporting manner. See, this started out, looked like he wanted to go right, realised there was nobody else going there, and therefore didn't go himself. And again, something, you know, we're all guilty of from time to time, is thinking, well, that's where I need to go, and then carrying on, and then you look round, it's too late and nobody's with you. And so he really wants to go right. He really wants to go right. But the trouble is, he's alone. Finally there's some tanks coming that way. Object 140's gone ahead, he's a good player as well. And we've got a Super Conqueror, and it looked like the Object 430 was thinking about it, but is now, maybe he is, yeah, maybe he is. So, as I said in the last game, you've got to try and keep your distance with these support vehicles. You don't want to be firing at long range, you want to be firing at sort of medium to short range. You want to be able to use that DPM, use that mobility to redeploy when things get hot. You do not want to be going toe to toe with heavies, and particularly when you're in this sort of game where you're bottom tier. Then you've got to play it more like a medium, which is what he's doing. He's coming out here to where traditionally this is the medium line, not where you would find heavies, but in this sort of position where he's in a supporting role, heavy tank in a bottom tier matchup, he's really got to play like a medium, and he's got a bat chat to play with. Nice, two, third shot takes him down, which is really good. Goes instantly for the reload. Doesn't want to be going against an E1 without a full clip. Meanwhile, the mediums who are with him are working that guy over. And he's down. Good job. Right, just about reloaded. Nearly 32-second reload on this clip, which is a bit horrendous. Peek around the corner, yeah, sure enough, 6 cents went off. The Waffenträger, Alpha Panzer IV down there. Do not want to get tied up with him. No shots. Okay, couple of big TDs. Nice shot into the Scorpion G. You can see the splash there, so it obviously missed. A couple of random shots into where that tank used to be. Again, he is bottom tier here, so you know you forgive him for not getting stuck in. And really, he's just using what mobility there is, the gun accuracy, and also the fact he's got a 4-shell clip to try and maximise the impact that he can have on the game. This is a bit more problematic. There's an Alpha Panzer IV plus the Alpha Panzer IV plus the ISM Russian Tier 8 heavy tank coming towards his position. He's got the support of the T-30, but both these vehicles are really support tanks. They're not frontline vehicles. So you can see he's setting up an ambush. Is that IS going to blunder into it? What's your bet then? Here he comes. Hasn't quite come around the corner just yet. He's a bit more nervous about doing it. Right, I think he's well, I don't know, he wants to go. You can see he wants to have a run at that IS and unload his clip into his side or rear, but the trouble is, A, he doesn't know which way he's looking, and also there are 3 TDs somewhere behind this ISM. What would you do? Not sure myself. First shell blocked. You can work on the Alpha Panzer IV instead. Nice, takes him down. That was a bonus, weren't expecting him. Puts one into the track, drive wheel of the ISM. He's now on reload. So he's getting back out again. Do not want to be predictable, you do not want to be sticking around, particularly his bottom tier, so he doesn't want to get caught up by the short and curlies, by the heavy stuff that's out there. Reloaded. Spins round, ready to deal with that ISM. Again, notice the distance of the engagements. They're all sort of medium short to medium range. He's not trying to get in really close, and he's not trying to shoot from long range. That's where these sort of support vehicles are at optimum. That's sort of medium to short range. Can we get around the chuff? Yep, there we go. One in shot. Tracks him in place. Come on, one more and we finished him. Nice. Nicely done. Immediately onto the reload, even though he had one shell left. Again, technique you have to learn when you're firing using autoloaders is when to reload. Generally you want to go into every engagement if you possibly can, reloaded, fully clipped up. Now he knows that object 704 is out here, and he knows that object 704 could make a right mess of his tank. But if you can bait him to fire one shell, then the reload is so long. Yeah, okay, that didn't work out so well. He was waiting. Patience of a TD, huh? But he gets him. 3 shells out the clip, reloads immediately. Now he's got a chance to sort of draw breath. Wonder what to do next. Spotted again. And hit by the S1. Oh, and you don't want to get hit by the S1s. Can you get shot there? No, wasted that one. Oh, what is this S1 doing? Oh my lord. What was he thinking of? What was he thinking of? Maybe he just thought, I'm going to get surrounded by the T-30, so I might as well have a try for it, but he had never had a chance. It's an autoloader, like an Emil I. I suppose if there had been one shot missed, he might have had an outside chance, but it was not the numbers game, that is for damn sure. So he's off again on his manoeuvres. You can see this is much more like a medium tank, but this is a heavy. And this is what I mean about when you're bottom tier, or even middle tier sometimes, you have to play these sort of support tanks more like mediums. Do not be tempted to go down and fight it. I mean, some players would have been tempted to go down the 9-0 line and duke it out with all the heavies down there. But that would have been a mistake. Okay, you probably can get some nice hold down positions down there and probably block a few things, but your chances of you actually doing any significant damage are fairly limited. You just haven't got the guns to compete with tier 8, tier 9s and 10s, tier heavy tanks. So you're better going out to where the light tanks and the medium tanks duke it out, because they've got thinner armour. You can pen them much more easily, and you're providing some really valuable support to your lights and your mediums when they're out scrapping up, and suddenly an auto-loading heavy pops up. It's kind of a bit of bad news for the enemy team. Okay, so we've just about... Is that guy AFK? No, he's not AFK, but we block his shell from the KV-4. Get shot in the I-7, he's gone for a reload. That was a shame he got spotted there, that's given away his position. KV-4 might have been expecting him to be sitting where he was originally sitting. Now KV-4 is paying attention. Well, no. One shot. 2 shots. Got 2 shots left. It's enough to kill this thing if he can get a clear shot twice. Because 1 shot will not be enough unless he happens to ammo rack him or set him on fire. Takes a shot but puts one in and finishes it up with a nice 1 to the lower plate for his 7th kill. GG, well played. So there you go, that was his ace tanker. He got spotter, duelist, fire for effect, high caliber, and of course top gun. Finished up top of his team, 5,537 damage, 7 kills, 1846 base XP, 28 shots fired, hit with 23, penned with 21 for that 5,500. He took 4 hits himself, 2 penned, 2 didn't, and even got 1,200 resistance damage, 85,000 credits, didn't fire any premium, so 55 profit just about, and with his times 3, 8,300 XP for his crew. So, oops, sorry. So there you go, really nice game. Played it like a medium, got in amongst the mediums and supported them. Just because you're a heavy support tank doesn't mean you just support the heavies. You can support mediums as well. That's what these things are for. They're support tanks. Engaging at medium to short range, not at short range unless there's absolutely no option, but engaging at that medium to short range really is where you're at your optimum, because that's where these sort of support tanks are designed to be. So anyway, I hope you found that useful and interesting. It's a little difficult to run through the nuances of every troop, every sort of tank class in the game, but hopefully I've given you a broad perspective of what to expect and how they should perform. Now, as I said, all the way through this series, it's vital that you research what your tank is like before you hit that battle button. Make sure that you've checked out, what's its mobility like, how good is its armor, what's its gun like, is it accurate, is it not accurate, and from that you can sort of determine what role you're supposed to play on the battlefield. And if you play that role in your vehicle, I guarantee you'll have a better game than if you sit at the back trying to snipe with an IS-3. Yes, 1 in however many shots will probably hit, but really you're not going to accomplish the role that tank was intended to accomplish. The IS-3 was intended to be a breakthrough tank, a main battle tank. This thing is sleek. Look at the profile of this thing. It's designed to bounce shot, and you know what, surprise surprise, it does bounce shot. Frontal plate armor is only 110, but it's very well angled. 249 on that turret, and look at the rounding of this. So again, what you need to realize is that just the armor values alone are not enough. It's about the angling, it's about the shape of the tank, and it's about where the shot hits that are equally as important. And that's again why going to a site like Tanks GG is very good, because you can pull up a map of what the tank looks like, its weak spots, and it'll even tell you what kind of penetration values it has. So 100 millimeters of armor that's really well angled back, like these are, you could be worth equivalent of 180 millimeters. I don't know, but that's what you can check out, and it's why you're really worth doing. So anyway, I hope you found this useful. If you did, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. And if you've got a suggestion for what I should do next time, just let me know. I'll happily check it out and decide whether we're going to go ahead that way, and hopefully get another one of these sort of intro beginners guides out in the next few days. So thanks for watching. See you again soon. Have fun. Try not to take it too seriously. This is Gamer Dom signing out.